Hamilton Mayor Fred Eisenberger joins us this morning with the latest on vaccines. Good morning.
Good morning.
So there was a big weekend at Lime Ridge this past weekend. Tell me about how the numbers were there.
Yeah, great weekend, a great opportunity for a partnership with Lime Ridge Mall. We thank Cadillac Fairview and the mall manager, Liam View, who reached out to us and suggested a great opportunity for us to do vaccinations over the Labor Day weekend, and successful. We had 548 folks vaccinated at the Lime Ridge Mall site, which is 548 more than we had previously, and that's really good news. And it really does demonstrate that people are coming around to understanding the value of the vaccination, and hopefully that drive will continue.
Right.
There are many places where you can now get a vaccine. The vaccine clinic at Lime Ridge is over, but there's the pharmacies, there's our large vaccination sites, pop-up clinics that are happening everywhere. So folks should go to hamilton.ca/get-your-shot location on our website, and they will be able to know where they can get their shot today. It's easier than ever, and it's predominantly walk-in. You don't need an appointment. So do what you can to get your vaccine as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Any thought that, I know this is a public health issue as well, but that Hamilton may continue to update numbers over the weekend? I know a number of other municipalities are also not doing that, but with case numbers rising, there have been calls for that.
I think it's predominantly a resource issue. We've got lots of folks that are going back to their regular work, a lot of public health folks that are still focused on the vaccination process. So it's predominantly a resource issue, but I think we are having our public health board meeting coming up, I believe, the end of this week or early next. And all of the numbers will be updated throughout the week rather than on weekends. And at this point in time, I think it's the best that we can do to make sure that people get as up-to-date as information as we can provide. But the weekends are particularly difficult because we are limited in terms of staff resources, that a lot of them are already seconded to getting those vaccines into arms. Okay.
I want to talk about the homeless situation in Hamilton. In the encampment situation, the city has now kind of loosened its blanket coverage, allowing people to set up camps in city parks, and that is gone now. So what's been happening there?
Well, the notifications have gone out to individuals that are sleeping rough in our parks, and I think very sadly there was a death in one of the encampments last week, and a number of cases of overdoses. These are not healthy places for people to live. And so we continue to work on reaching out to those individuals with our, not only our bylaw, but with our social navigator outreach that involves police and a social worker and paramedics to get them into housing. And that's really the best option for all of these folks, is to have a proper, well cared for shelter, living rough. I know the weather's nice, but the reality is these are our park spaces that are also wanting to be utilized by our residents as parks, and when they're overrun by tents and people rough in our community, then that makes it particularly difficult. So we have a double problem. So the reality is that notifications have gone out. We have not enacted any removals as of yet, but that may come down the road. But our best option is that we get all of those folks, or at least most of those folks, living in shelter or living in an affordable home somewhere in our community, and there's availability in those spaces. So we're doing our best in the house.
A big issue for people who don't have homes is that they don't have access to washrooms, and the city has closed a number of public washrooms. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, and that's been ongoing right from the very beginning of the pandemic. There are public buildings that are publicly accessible right now that do have their washrooms open, and other cases, you just showed an image of the bus terminal, that has been closed right from the very beginning of the pandemic, and remains so. But I know that our Emergency Operations Center will be looking at those public facilities in the next week or so to see whether or not we can find a way of getting them opened or not. It does make it difficult. We did provide porta potties along York Street back, some months ago when there were a number of people living rough along York Street. We've been able to clean that up, and it was a very difficult scenario. Unfortunately, those bathrooms were significantly damaged and trashed, and that wasn't going to be a sustainable option. So we're going to be looking at those issues. That's certainly an ongoing issue, certainly for the homeless, and we're going to do our best to make sure that they get into housing where all of those services are available.
Okay.
There are shelter spaces. There are homes that they can go to. The most acute, difficult ones are the folks that have mental health issues and addiction issues.
Which is a
That are
huge problem,
particularly
yes.
difficult to house, and that is something we're going to continue to work on getting additional funding from our federal
Okay.
and provincial partners to be able to provide that support network that they're going to need to get into housing thereafter. But the majority of people that are living rough out there can get housing, and that's our effort going forward.
Okay, and we have to stop you there because we have run out of time, but Hamilton Mayor Fred Eisenberger, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Have a good week.